All right, folks, strap in because today we are diving deep into what might be the most exciting beta update in Genshin Impact's history. I'm talking about patch 6.2, and it's doing something many of us had given up hoping for. We're not just getting number tweaks or a simple 15% damage bump to an old talent. No, we are getting full-blown, ground-up, mechanical reworks for some of the game's most iconic, and let's be honest, most power-crept characters. We're focusing on 4 legends today: Venti, Klee, Mona, and Albedo. And the craziest part? They're all being tied together through a brand new in-game system called the Arcane Rite and Maestria Arcana. If you've seen the whispers online, you know this is huge. This is HOYOVERSE fundamentally modernizing the earliest members of the roster and connecting them through lore we've been speculating about for years. The Secret Witch Society, the Hexenzirkel. So let's break down exactly what's changing, why it's a massive deal, and how this could completely reshape the meta for Genshin's founding characters. Save up to 25% on the current banners at lootbar.gg, especially for the Nodcry release. Lootbar is offering the all-in-one pack and the 6,480 pack for only $69 compared to $100 in-game. That's a $31 saving. I just entered my UID and selected my server. In less than 5 minutes, the gems appeared in my account. As you can see, I received double the amount for my first purchase, just like with in-game top-ups. And remember, the double bonus for your first purchase has been reset in 6.0. Beyond Genshin, you can also top up in Honkai Star Rail. Lootbar has over 100,000 satisfied users and also supports PS5 and Xbox top-ups. New users can get an extra 10% discount, while returning users get 5%. The link is in the description. Now, let's start with the Anemo Archon himself, Venti. Venti, the poster child of version 1.0 dominance. If you were there at the beginning, you remember the sheer insanity of his burst. He'd suck in half the abyss floor and everything would just disappear. But then, the game evolved. Enemies got bigger, heavier, and outright immune to his crowd control. Our once god-tier bard slowly became a niche pick, a nostalgia piece for older players. Well, the 6.2 beta is finally addressing this fall from grace. Venti is getting what they're calling a divine archery system, and it changes his entire playstyle. Here's the deal. When his elemental burst, Wind's Grand Ode, is active, his normal attacks transform. They become gale arrows that pierce through enemies and deal significantly increased Anemo damage. This single change gives him a real reason to stay on the field. He's no longer just a press Q and swap bot, but it gets even more clever. Every time one of these gale arrows hits an enemy, it extends the duration of his burst vortex by 1 second, up to a maximum of 2 extra seconds. There's a slight cooldown increase to balance it, but the effect is a beautiful feedback loop. The longer you keep Venti on the field attacking, the longer his crowd control persists. It's poetic. The bard's wind keeps flowing as long as he keeps playing his tune. And his constellations take this new identity and run with it. His first constellation, C1, now makes his aimed shots fire 2 additional tracking arrows that actually inherit the element absorbed by his burst. And his C6? It's absolutely insane. It adds a flat 100% critical damage bonus, plus a 20% Anemo resistance shred to every enemy caught in the vortex. This isn't just a buff, it's a complete reinvention. We're looking at a genuine, viable Anemo main DPS, a hybrid that sits somewhere between Wanderer and Kazuha, but with his own unique flavor of piercing projectiles and scaling crowd control. The dream of building a crit Venti might finally stop being a meme and become a meta reality. Next up, we have Klee. And honestly, this rework might be my personal favorite. Klee has always been this adorable, iconic spark of chaos, but playing her for more than a few minutes could be a genuine test of patience. Her kit was built for a 2020 version of Genshin, before we had smooth, quick-swap pyro carries like Mavuika or Arlecchino. She burned through stamina like crazy, got interrupted by the slightest breeze, and chaining her charged attacks, her main source of damage, felt clunky. The beta changes fix everything. Her passive, explosive sparks has been completely reworked. Instead of holding just 1 spark, she can now store up to 3, and she generates them not only from her normal attacks, but also from her skill and her burst. Each spark lets her unleash a charged attack for 0 stamina, and that charged attack now hits 50% harder. Just that change alone smooths out her gameplay loop immensely. But the new Arcane Right buff takes it even further. When her burst is active, her normal attack combo no longer resets. This means you can flow through her attack strings seamlessly. And on her third normal attack, she consumes one of her stored sparks to trigger a coordinated bombardment from off-field. Imagine little pyro missiles just raining down on enemies. And with a chance to not even consume the spark, she can potentially maintain this bombardment almost indefinitely. Her constellations got the same love. Her C1 now gives her a spark bomb that deals 120% of her burst's damage and grants a massive 60% attack boost for 12 seconds. And her C6, which was pretty selfish before, now actually supports the whole team, giving everyone a 10% pyro damage bonus and constant energy restoration. The vision here is crystal clear. HOYOVERSE wants Klee to feel as fluid and explosively chaotic as her lore suggests. She's no longer the little girl struggling to keep up. She's a sustained pyro damage engine. Then we have Mona, and I have to say her rework might be the most intellectually brilliant of the bunch. Mona's problem was never that she was weak. Her Omen debuff is incredibly strong. The problem was that she was incredibly situational. That powerful debuff was over in a flash. Her burst required precise snapshotting to maximize, and outside of a few niche reaction teams, she often felt underutilized. Patch 6.2 completely redefines her. She's being transformed into a reaction-based buffer and a partial main DPS through the new Maestria Arcana system. Here's the new game plan. When she's paired with another Arcane Magus character, like the newly reworked Albedo, her normal and charged attacks grant her something called ephemeral bubble stacks. When a teammate triggers a vaporize reaction, those stacks pop, boosting the reaction's damage by 10% per stack. At maximum stacks, that's a 30% damage bonus for your vaporizes every single cycle. That's Bennett-level amplification, but specifically for reactions. But the real game changer, the fix Mona mains have been begging for, is what happens to her Omen debuff. Her normal and charged attacks now extend the duration of Omen by 2 seconds per hit, up to a maximum of 8 additional seconds. Let that sink in. Her burst, which once had a frustratingly short window, now has proper uptime for coordinated team play. Her constellations bring her firmly into the modern era, adding automatic charged attacks, team-wide elemental mastery sharing, and crit rate and crit damage buffs. Her C6 even scales her charged attack damage up to 200% bonus when you maintain the rhythm. This is a dream come true for anyone who always loved Mona's aesthetic but hated her strict, unforgiving timing. She now plays like a rhythm-based reaction amplifier, and if this system works as intended, she could easily shoot right back up to being one of the best hydro enablers in the game, maybe even giving Yelan and Xingqiu a run for their money in certain team compositions. And finally, we have the most unexpected glow-up, Albedo. Albedo has been in a weird spot since Inazuma. He was never bad, just stagnant. His solar isotoma was great, until a boss decided to step on it and shatter it instantly. He just didn't scale well into the harder content. The 6.2 beta rebuilds him from the ground up as a defense scaling support commander, giving him a true, undeniable purpose in team comps again. He gets a brand new talent called Eve of the Witch's Precepts. When he's paired with another magic-based DPS character, it triggers the Maestria Arcana system. This allows him to create crystal fins, which are supercharged versions of his old solar isotoma. These fins last for 10 seconds and even share the transient blossom explosions. You can have up to 2 on the field, and each one amplifies his skill damage by a whopping 120% of his defense. But the real power isn't just his personal damage, it's in his team-wide buffs. After using his skill, all party members gain a 4% damage bonus for every 1,000 points of Albedo's defense, up to a maximum of 12%. And here's the faction synergy. If the teammate is a fellow Hexenzirkel member, they get a boosted 10% per 1,000 defense, up to a massive 30%. So, if you build your Albedo with a solid 2,500 to 3,000 defense, which is totally achievable, you're looking at a potential 75% total damage bonus for his magical allies. That isn't a minor support buff. That is meta-defining territory. His constellations push this concept into overdrive, with energy refunds, more defense boosts, new stacking mechanics that make his burst scale off defense, and even crystal fins you can jump off of for aerial plunging attack bonuses. It's like HOYOVERSE finally had an epiphany. Albedo's strength was never in clunky geo reactions, but in his completely untapped potential as a defense-scaling stat stick. He's now a bridge between the geo element and this new arcane archetype, transforming him from a niche filler unit into a universal support enabler. So, what does all of this actually mean for the future of Genshin Impact? This wave of updates sends a massive signal about HOYOVERSE's direction. They are finally, proactively addressing the power gap between the original characters and the modern roster. But they're not doing it by just releasing a Venti 2.0 or a Klee the sequel. Instead, they're recontextualizing the original characters through faction-based systems and lore. This is a design philosophy straight out of Honkai Star Rail's playbook, where legacy characters get mechanical extensions that deepen their kit rather than being replaced. The other huge takeaway is the emphasis on synergy. All these buffs actively encourage you to build teams full of Hexenzirkel members, Albedo, Mona, Klee, and Venti, to unlock layered, powerful bonuses. It's a way of saying, hey, Mondstadt might be the first region, but its champions still have a few world-shattering tricks left up their sleeves. The community reaction, as you'd expect, is a mix of pure excitement and cautious optimism. Some players are absolutely loving the creativity, calling this the best patch since Fontaine dropped. Others are a little worried that locking these powerful bonuses behind faction tags might limit team-building flexibility. But honestly, it's hard not to be impressed. If even half of these changes make it to the live servers, we are looking at a fundamental modernization of Genshin Impact's oldest and most beloved character designs. So I have to ask you, what do you think? Do you love the idea of these deep, lore-based reworks? Or would you prefer simpler, straightforward balance patches? And which of these 4 characters do you think benefits the most from this overhaul? Personally, I'm putting my Mora on Mona being the sleeper hit. She's been on the bench for far too long, and this update has the potential to finally bring her back into the spotlight. And that's everything we know right now about the Genshin Impact 6.2 beta character overhauls, from Venti's piercing wind arrows to Albedo's defense-driven support system. I'll be keeping a very close eye on the beta as it develops, especially if more Hexenzirkel members like Sucrose or Fischl get added to the mix. So if you want to stay updated on all the latest leaks, kit tests, and early synergy analysis, make sure you subscribe and drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear which of these reworks would actually make you pull out your Primo Gems. Buy 6,480 Genesis Crystals with the 6.0 limited pack for only $79 at lootbar.gg. Returning users can also grab an extra coupon for up to 5% off. The link is in the description.